Hello, this is Linda Vettrus-Nichols, and do I have an amazing person to introduce to you, Maria Papacosta. Welcome, Maria.
Hi, Linda. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here with you.
Oh, it's an honor to have you.
Thank you.
Maria, you have an amazing story of transformation. I would love to hear more and help us to get to know you better.
Story of transformation. Many stories of transformation. I
Right?
think the most exciting one, which actually resulted into what I do now,
Mm,
is that I was a very, very, very shy kid. But by shy, I mean extremely shy. And I think this was due to the fact that my dad, um, well, I was born in Greece, but
okay.
my dad, when I was 6 months old, he got a job for a German company, so he had to live in Jordan. So he had to
Wow.
take the family along with him in Jordan, and I was just 6 months old. And then up until I was like, I don't know, 14, 15 years of age,
Mm-hmm.
we had to travel between Greece, Germany, and Jordan, and a little bit of
Oh,
Switzerland in between. So
oh
it
my
was
goodness.
really just
You're
for
a
a change.
global child.
Yeah, but it was hard for a kid, to make friends,
Yeah.
and learn how to socialize and even learn how to read and write. It was quite a struggle for me at the beginning. Plus, emotionally, being away from my dad, because we had periods of time that we were, separated as a family.
Mm-hmm.
That was really hard. So it resulted into me being really shy and not very social at all. Um, Things that you don't really realize or analyze as you grow up, but I think that I have completely transformed, or at least I'm trying to be honest.
You're doing your
doing my
best.
doing my best, but I think this sort of defined my purpose in life, that business purpose at least, to help people, to stand out, to not be afraid, to make an impact, to follow their dreams, to communicate with impact and influence and all these beautiful things. Because
Yeah.
while growing up, you start monitoring all these different personalities around you, and you're like, oh, I wish I could be like that. Look how outgoing they are. And then I went into the speaking industry, and I had to collaborate with speakers from a relatively young age, as an event organizer initially.
Wow.
Um, and I would look at all the speakers. I was like, oh my God, they don't feel afraid. They stand in the spotlight and they communicate with huge audiences. I wish I could do that. And I cannot do that. Why? So this why and everything, you know, um, transformed me into who I am today.
That looking outside of self. So how did you get to the place of inside of self and being okay with inside of self? Because that's what you coach on too, right?
Yeah, well, I think it takes a lot of reflection, self-reflection, and it requires a lot of time and patience and being kind to yourself and being honest to
Yes.
yourself.
Right?
The discussion, yeah, discussions we have in the mirror with ourselves,
You're right.
um, and saying, okay, this is who you are now, but who do you want to be? I mean,
Yes.
your past does not indicate your future. It's just your past, it's just experience. Is this what you want to hold on to, or do you want to move forward? So, if
Yeah.
you do want to move forward and you want something different, what is it? So, you have to identify it. And then you
Mm-hmm.
have to move on and say, okay, I have identified who I want to be,
Mm-hmm.
like my values, my behaviors, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
What is holding me back? What am I afraid of? And then you have to define fears.
Yep.
And fear is something natural. It's our innate defense mechanism. It's
It keeps us
keeping us
alive.
safe. Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Hello.
But we need to define fear and say, is this going to really harm me, like
Mm-hmm.
financially or my career or my health or anything like that?
Right?
Really, I mean, most of the things we want to try and push our boundaries are
Mm-hmm.
not really harmful unless we are, an extreme athlete or something.
Right. Yeah.
So then you define and you realize that it's not the end of the world.
Mhm.
And then you just do it, which is my favorite word, my favorite phrase. Just do it and see what happens.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, and my husband Terry Nichols says make decisions with your heart, use your soul for counsel and your brain for storage. And I say temporary storage, like dump it out on
Yeah.
paper, especially ladies.
Yeah.
Get it out of your head. Too much up there, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful.
And so you were talking about decision, and I love your explanation of the difference between choice and decision. So I would
Oh,
love you to say that quick too.
yeah, well, we always make choices, right? We go to buy an ice cream and we make a choice like I want vanilla, I want chocolate. We don't think about it.
Mm,
And the same applies to every aspect in our lives. We just make choices without sitting down and thinking about this choice.
mhm.
But decisions, it's more deep, it's deeper.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
feeling into it almost. Mm.
yeah, and knowing why you're doing what you're doing. So
Mm-hmm.
you're not just choosing a job, you're deciding
Mm-hmm.
on your next move. You sit down and you have the pros and cons, you think of your values and
Yeah.
is this action aligned to my values? You think of all these
You
different things.
filter
This is
it, right? Through your core
right.
values or
Yeah, that's a decision. You don't just do things because you have the luxury of choice.
mm-hmm.
You do
Yeah.
things because you want to or you don't want to with
Yeah.
specific reasons.
Yeah, and outcomes that you're choosing. What, if there's like more intention
Yeah.
involved with decisions too. I love it.
Yeah. And it's a helpful approach for people like me. I find it very hard to say no. So I'm a yes person, which is a disaster, a complete disaster, because you end up saying yes
Can
to
be.
everything. You don't want to harm, to hurt people
Right?
and hurt their feelings. So you end up saying yes to absolutely everything.
Mm.
But if you apply the logic of choice and decision, right, it helps you to say no because it's not a plain no. You usually say no because of these and these and these. You give them an explanation. So
Yeah.
it's easier to say no at the end of the day.
And it gets easier and easier because you really know who you are and where you stand. And oh, I've been down this road. Your decisions almost become a little more automatic,
Yeah.
making it not such an intense thing to
Yeah.
have to make a decision. You'll have
Yeah.
pathways to follow to make decision making go quicker and easier too. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it's the same thing with diets, by the way, to give a very simple example. Why do
Yeah,
all diets fail? Because it's a matter of choice and not a matter of decision.
I love it.
Realizing that it's a life decision. It's not, oh, I want to lose a few pounds or whatever.
Yeah,
It's a lifestyle.
yeah,
It's something that I decide for myself that aligns with the better version of myself. And the
yeah,
better version, it's this, and this because I decided so.
absolutely. It's like, okay, and I have food sensitivity, so, I can balance it out. Like sometimes I can have something that might really trigger me in a really bad way, but I haven't had it for a while and, I could get away with it or whatever. So how do
Yeah.
I want to feel, is the outcome that I filter through. And with diet, maybe it's how do I want to look? And now that I'm older, I'm like fighting weight gain. It's like I've never had that in my life. It's like, well, it's just a whole new world now, isn't it? So what is the outcome you're choosing? How
Exactly.
do I want to
Exactly.
feel? Okay. How do I want to look? Thank you so much, Maria. It was so great to get to know you better.
My pleasure. Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Bye.